Hi, how you doing? It's Mitch from Hard Intentions YouTube channel. We also have hardintentions.com, which is our website where you can buy t-shirts and beanies, hats, and prints of my artwork. Please go there and check it out. Uh, I've gone through my whole, birth to parole story, so I'm just kind of rehashing things. And, I was at work the other day thinking, when I was younger, I really thought I was the shit, I thought I was about the business. And kind of grew up in a tough area. And I really wasn't about the business, but I thought I was, I was young, teenager, and, when I got this case that sent me to prison around that time, I'd already been to youth authority a couple times. And I thought, well, I got stuff under my belt these other guys don't have. So that makes me about the shit, But I wanted to, I was telling myself I wanted to get into, big boy game. I'm a big boy now, I was 17. But, yeah, so I got my case, go to county jail, you hear stories about prison. There were guys in there that had been to prison. There were guys in there going to prison again. Just a bunch of different stuff. Only a few guys were fighting life sentences, So then I went to prison, and I got put in a hole. You start to realize, man, that there are guys in there, like when it comes to the business, like being about the business of violence and prison life. There are guys in there that are about that 100%. They're about the violence and prison life. That's what they're about. 100%. This is how things ought to be. And for them, they're involved in the mix, meaning whatever they can do illegally, same as the street. Whether it's dope or hustling some kind of thing in there. Hustling food out of the kitchen in large quantities, hustling clothes out of the warehouse, whatever, PIA stuff, wood, whatever. Or violence, They're, the violence in there goes with the hustle, So they're involved with prison life, and they'll let you know it, by their behavior, not with their words. I learned real quick, man, that what it meant to be about the business of that violence and illegal activity, what those dudes were seriously about, quick, And so you see guys get killed or stabbed up and shot by the gun rail. It opens your eyes, and especially when you're a teenager, even though you won't fully admit it to yourself, you're really not about that kind of business unless you are, and then you jump in. And I don't know what's in the heads of guys that jump into that 100%. But, it made me realize that I wasn't about the business like that 100%, but I was about it, a different way. Like, when you had to be, you had to be. And then, it's time to get with the business. There are a lot of guys like that. They do their time. They do it their own way. They have little hustles going on to make their life comfortable. But when it comes time to be about it, they'll be there and they'll be about it. And that's kind of where I fit myself in. And especially when I realized, like I might be spending the rest of my life in prison, I didn't want to spend it in the hole. I wanted to spend it comfortable. So, you just kind of accept the fact that every now and then something might happen to jeopardize your comfort level, and you're going to have to get with it. But, like I said, there are dudes who are about it 100%. you might be standing on the yard talking to a couple dudes, and there's a dude that just got out of the shoe for killing somebody, and maybe another dude standing next to you just got out of the hole for stabbing somebody. That was the reality of prison life, and them dudes were about the shit, and you kind of had to watch what you said about them guys, because there were youngsters driving up, thinking they're about the shit, and they'll run their mouths, and them dudes will put them to the test. They'll put a piece of steel in their hand and tell them, all right, handle this shit. And if they do, they do, and then they're taking their first step down that road of having to be about the business 100%. And, that's a hard road to travel, because guys that go down that road, they're hard. They're hard. They got hard hearts, man, and they have a set of rules they live by. And so when guys go down that road, a lot of guys can't hold the mud, They can't hold that up. And then they become victims of lifestyle of violence in prison that they decided to live. They become a victim of it, and sometimes they die. There are other guys that go down that road 100%. They believe in whatever it is they believe in, and then they start seeing that maybe not everybody they're associated with is about it the way they are. And what do? They decide they don't want to be a part of that. How do you step away from that? Because the thing is, if you step away, you're done. Then you're going to be a victim eventually of the same thing, like I said, that you were a part of. I had Homeboy stepped away from that stuff and from San Diego in the 70s, and he went back to prison, to the main lines, and he ended up dying on the streets, free man, not by someone else's hand. But that's a rare deal, Most guys step away from that life. They do it with the help of staff, and they have to tell and all that other stuff. So then they become the thing that they used to hate, the thing that they used to persecute. Nobody likes the rats, so they would, that was part of their deal, So they become that. They become the thing that that they didn't like when they were about the shit. That's their way out. And so, I was talking to somebody a while back there, and there are also guys that go about it, and they don't have a problem like hurting people. They don't have a problem being involved with illegal activity, drug use, drug sales, extortion, whatever, and violence. And they'll go at it balls out. They'll go at it 100%. And I was talking about this with someone last week, and you have to be careful of those guys, because they're boisterous about what they're doing, and that's because they have an exit strategy, because eventually people get caught, and whether it's on the streets or in prison, guys that are about the business like that, real boisterous, don't have a problem hurting people, going to the extremes. Their exit strategy is, when they get caught, their strategy is to tell. They're not all for one and one for all. It's like all for them and them for them. They're not. So when they get caught, they tell. That's their strategy, and they go into it with that strategy because they know they're going to get caught someday. And it's found in some cases in the guys that are involved with criminal shit, they get caught, they end up telling, and come to find out they were under the protection of some law enforcement agency the whole time. It happens all the time. So I was always leery about the real boisterous, out there with it, I'm about the shit kind of mouth and doing stuff, because I've seen enough times when they got caught, very seldom do they want to ride their beef. They want to suck someone in to lessen their load, you know. So being about the business 100%, it's a hard line to toe, you know. Um, yeah, it's a hard line to toe, man. And it's a hard thing to be a friend with somebody who's about the business 100% all the time, because you never know. I mean, if you make a mistake, maybe you'll be on that list, you know. But you know, I found the guys who are like, you know, doing their time or living their life now out here, but they're involved with stuff, and they're like about the business of disruption and violence, you know, when they have to be, when it's necessary. And you know, I used to talk to some of the old timers that kind of helped me out when I went to Penn, and I'm like, you know, what about this? What about that? And I'd be saying, you know, shouldn't this be dealt with? Shouldn't that be dealt with? And they'd be like, hey, that's bad business, you know. It draws a lot of heat. But they were not cowards or weak punks, none of that stuff in any way. They just were smart. And, you know, I remember one time I was pissed off at this dude, and these older cats came and told me, hey, look, um, if that dude's got a killing coming, he's going to get it. And so you can imagine what the conversation was, you know. And I go, all right, you know, and they're like, but you don't have to be the one to give it to him. I was like, all right, you know. But that's when I started wising up, you know. Because these are guys who've done shit in prison in the 70s when prison was rough. And so life was a lot better once I mastered doing my thing, especially towards the end. I had my art, and I had a program to become comfortable in prison. That was my goal. Um, it became a lot easier to do my time because, you know, I quit using. I quit partying in 98. I became totally clean. I'd flushed a quarter ounce of speed. And so now my focus wasn't, you know, I'm going to maintain, you know, this illegal activity of drug use and sales and smuggling shit in there and doing all that. I'm going to give that up and focus on something that's it's legal, it's legit, and I might not make any money off it, but it was going to bring me some peace of mind and comfort, you know. And yeah, life got a lot easier. And then every now and then something would happen, and you know what? I remember one time we had a riot, and I was involved in a riot, and they pulled everybody in the day room to see the medical staff, you know, to see for wounds or whatnot. And I had a big lump on the back of my head, and I go up to the table, and the guy's like, you know, stripped down. Well, he's got his head down, he's right. So I got butt naked because I didn't want him to inspect my body and see this big lump on my head. So when he looks up, and I'm standing there with my hands on my hip, my junk out, and he goes, ah, man, what, you know, you got any wounds? I go, no. He goes, get out of here. So uh, even though I had moments of disruption that could have disrupted my program a whole lot more, it's almost like when you're doing the right thing, you got someone looking out for you from above. Because I was in a few different things all the way up to the week that I got out of prison, where those disruptions really could have messed my program up bad, and they didn't. And so, just for whatever reason, you know, um, when you're doing the right thing and you're willing to get with it during those moments of disruption, life was a lot easier and a lot better. And you know, you can't. So that just goes to, you know, to show you, like, guys that were quiet doing their own thing. I've seen them get tested like dummies, you know, and the dummies ended up losing. So, you know, just because a guy's quiet, doing his own thing, and he doesn't appear to be like he's with the shit, don't test that dude, because you know, it might surprise you. I remember one time these dudes were, you know, and that was me, especially towards the end of my term, and these dudes, they got at me about something stupid on the yard. I forgot what it was. And I said, hey, look here, man. You don't want to make me paranoid. And guy said, what'd you say? And I told him, you don't want to make me paranoid. And he goes, what's that mean? I said, go figure it out, you know. And he must have figured it out because he backed the fuck up off me, you know, with whatever it was. I can't remember what it was. But, you know, just because a guy's quiet and doing his thing doesn't mean that he's not about the shit and he won't stand up for his 100, you know. And then, of course, there were guys who really were not about the business at all, and which is not a crime in itself. But there were guys that weren't about the shit at all, and they would pretend that they were. Um, and, you know, they always paid the price or got found out or got humiliated into shit. And there were guys, like there was a guy in San Quentin, they had a riot, you know, whites and northerners, and dudes are just, it was a big deal. And the dude was in his cell, you know, said he was taking a shit. You know, and there's a riot going on, you know, it doesn't matter, dude, you're there. And so he ended up getting ostracized from a group of dudes that he used to associate with. And, you know, he should have just pinched his butthole off if he was taking a shit and went outside and got with it. But I think he was just scared, but he was playing the part of that guy, you know, and, you know, it ended up costing him. About 3 years later, actually, it cost him. It took a little time, but it caught up with him. And his associates gave him the boot. But so there are guys who pretend to be about the shit, and they're not, you know. But there are guys who are not about it, and they don't pretend to be. They just go to work. Same thing you do out here in the world. You know, people for the most part don't mess with them. They're not in the mix. They're not trying to be anybody. And it's common knowledge, hey, them dudes, they're not with it, you know. No one really messes with them for the most part, especially when you get in lower level prisons like 3s and 2s. But some of them guys are about the business in a different way. Like some of them guys who get clerk jobs, um, you know, which is a kind of a hard thing to do now. There used to be assignment clerks, so if you wanted a job, you could go to the assignment office and ask somebody, you know, I want a job and I'd like to work here. And they'd be like, all right. And they'd look and they'd be like, I can get you in there. And you break them off a carton of cigarettes and they get you a job. Or if you wanted a bed move, they would get you a bed move with your homeboy or whatever. Or get your homeboy moved out because you didn't like him or whatever. Carton of cigarettes, you know. So them dudes, some of them that weren't about the shit, like as far as violence and illegal activity, they had other things that they were down for. And they were down for helping dudes out with their jobs. They had a little juice card where they could get some things done for guys. They would do it. And, you know, a friend of mine who's out now, he was a clerk one time, and there was a dude who wanted to escape. So he kept giving him, you know, job assignments in areas where the prison where he thought he could, you know, get on. And he was close custody. He wasn't supposed to have these jobs. So he would have the job for like a week or two. Then he'd another Jane said, not here, not here. And he ended up escaping. And he's still out, you know. But so there were guys that helped guys like that. And some of them weren't about the shit with the violence, but they were about the shit with being stand-up guys in other ways, you know. And they would help guys out. So, you know, once again, you know, that guy that seems like he isn't about the shit at all, he might have some friends that are, you know. So, life's a trip when you start realizing the different personalities and characters of people around you. And it gets to the point where, and it doesn't take long in prison, where you can meet someone and within 5 minutes say, hey, this dude's no good, or this dude's good. And 90% of the time or more, you're very accurate. Yeah, I mean, it gets like that. And so then, once you're able to do that, then you got to decide, okay, you know, you meet some dude and you decided this dude's no good for whatever reason, then you got to decide what you're going to do with that. You're going to continue to associate. What I would do is I would see dudes and I'd be like, hey, I don't like this dude, he's no good. And so if you tell people, hey, this dude's no good, I don't like him, there might be a chance it'll get back to him. And then you got a problem. So what I would do, and usually when I mean a guy's no good in my book, it's a dude who's going to jump in the car, cause some chaos, use people up, get some guys put in the hole, and laugh about it in the end, you know. So I don't want them dudes around me, them kind of guys. So I wanted guys that were more on my page, you know, how we living, you know. I would just keep in my mind, all right, this is one of them kind, you know, and as in passing, I'd be like, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? That's it. Whenever I saw him, I'd be like, hey, how you doing? I might give him a fist bump. You know, I might give him 2 or 3 minutes of conversation and then mosey on. And it lets them feel like we're good, but really we're not, because I don't get involved with them beyond that. You know, and that's just how that is, man. You do a drive-by, you know, with people that you don't want to, you know, and in the end it always comes out. Because I would have someone, I say, hey, that dude's no good, man. And you know, like David, my friend that just got out, last pen we were in, there was a guy there, you know, pretending to be all that, and he ended up getting in a cell fight over his debts and his attitude, got his arm broke, got transferred to New Folsom Prison, and they beat him in the head with a rock and stabbed him, and, you know, fucked the dude up and killed him. You know, it's how it works, you know. So, you know, if you're out here in the world, just know this: if you want to jump in that game and be all that, it's a hard road to toll, and you don't have to go down that route. You don't have to go down the, you know, the extreme violent, out here, I guess, gang or just you know, criminal involvement road. If you want to dabble in shit, just decide you want to dabble in shit. If you don't want to be involved with it, there's no harm, no foul if you don't get involved. But just know this: if you do get involved with stuff and you go all in, your exit strategy is going to be one thing or another. It's going to be all bad, telling. It's going to be all bad for you because it's going to destroy your life again. Or it's going to be all bad where, you know, you're going to spend a lot of time in prison, maybe in and out, and maybe in my case, all in one shot. So, you know, if you're going to step down that hard line, you're going to have to toe that hard road, you know. Otherwise, why even start? I seen dudes in prison that killed people, you know, and when a few months later they were telling, and I asked dudes, you know, why did they even bother killing someone, to be, you know, all that, if they were just gonna tell, you know? I didn't understand that, you know. So they would go from one extreme to another. So, you know, I'd rather be, you know, like now I'm about the business of my family and my friends out here in the world. And I'm about the business of going to work and making cash. It's not as much, but it's good, you know. It goes in my bank and it can't be fucked with, you know. And the things I buy with it can't be fucked with. So I'm about the business of life out here in the world. If you're young and you look at dudes that are older and they're balling, and some of them might have worked and some of them might not, whatever, just know this: you can be a baller too, with it, you know, the right education for the right job might give you enough money to be a baller, but it's okay not to be a baller, you know, and it's okay to make your own decisions and be about the business of that. So anyway, that's a little trip about being about the business. You guys take care of yourselves. Put the buttons, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And check out our Teespring. We got some hoodies on there and all that. And take care and do it hard. We love you. Thank you.